Hello, so when I was doing one of my streams there was the issue brought up, it might have been by Fallout Player, I can't remember who said it, about people should always have at least 2 filters on the gas mask, which is a very good point. I think I may have talked about this before, but I want to show you, a setup bag and what you should be doing, because there's a lot of problems where people assume that they can get one mask, maybe buy a military surplus mask or whatever, or even if they're spending hundreds of dollars on a new mask. They'll get their mask. Then what they'll do is they'll get one filter for it, they'll use that filter for training, or they won't use the filter for training. So they either have one sealed filter that's in date, but they haven't really tested the mask or anything, or what they've done is they've got, they've opened that filter, they've been using it for training purposes, and then they've got a semi-expired filter for when they actually need it. So you need at least 2 filters, ideally more. I've obviously got loads because I collect masks, but you obviously want in-date filters that are sealed for use in sort of an actual emergency, and as I've said before, if you've got a filter that was in date, it's still sealed properly, it's gone out of date, it is going to last longer than the expiry date. The issue is you don't know how long it's going to last outside the expiry date. I've opened filters that have been perfectly sealed, some of them, from the 80s and 90s, some of them work fine, some don't work at all. There's no real way of knowing when a filter's expired, how long it's going to last. And obviously, if you're exposing it to quite nasty, potentially toxic industrial chemicals like phosgene or chlorine, those are going to wear down a filter quite quickly. So if you've got a filter that's near expiry and there's like a chlorine leak somewhere or something, you're pretty screwed, to be honest. So what we're going to do is, this is my setup bag as I've shown before. It's got my Avon CT12 in here, which is my favourite mask, so this is my go-to mask. So I'll pop that on, even though I've not got a filter on it at the moment. And I've got this set up obviously for the left side filter intake. So there we go, that's the CT12 on. Now in this bag I've got 2 filters. What I've got is an open filter that still works, but this is sort of a training and just filter if I need it for something not so serious. So let's put this on. Right, so that filter's on. Then what we've got in this bag is a brand new sealed RSG ABEC P3 filter, and you'll know that's an A2B2, so ABEC 2 P3, so a very good filter, quite bulky obviously compared to this one if you compare the sizes. That's going to be quite heavy if it's on one side of the mask, but it will do its job. And this expires in 2018, I believe it is, yeah, October 2018, but obviously as it's sealed properly it would last a bit longer than that. How long, I can't guarantee it. I do also have other sealed filters in there that are still in date or have only recently run out of date, so I've got other options of filters. Now, this was made in, I think, 2008, it says there. Yes, looks like 2008 on that serial number. So obviously this has a 10-year lifespan when these are built, so if you bought one of these close to the time they actually were originally made, that's got a good lifespan on it. I've also got the chemical poncho in here. As I've said before, that's just a kind of go-to poncho. I might put the spare pair of chemical gloves in this bag while I remember, just because they'd be quite useful as well, but that's the last resort poncho. So, as I was saying, you want at least one filter like this in your entire collection or whatever you're using it for, especially for survival reasons, that's open and works. So you can use it to test if masks make a proper seal to your face and they work against, air freshener or isomyl acetate and things like that, so you can actually test the mask and see if it works. Once you've done that, so it pressure checks, it obviously works against vapours and odours, you've got the mask filter that's obviously there that you could potentially have on the mask if something goes down, and then you've got the mask filter that's, although it's semi-expired because it's been open and everything, you've at least got a go-to filter for the mask. But then obviously you need at least one additional filter, the more the better, that are in date and sealed, so in the event of an actual thing you can put that on as soon as possible and have a filter that is going to last in a chemical environment. And as said in other videos, when you've got a gas mask on, you want to be evacuating. You do not want to actually be sitting around in the gas, waiting for bad things to happen, because the job of this is to evacuate you from an area or allow you to do something with the mask on. It's not to sit around in gas for the sake of sitting around in gas. So,
The point I am making is that if you are buying a mask for survival purposes, you should have at least one sealed in-date filter at all times ready with the mask, and potentially have one open filter even if it's recently expired to actually test the mask. Not to rely on that filter, but to test it, so you know you've got the filter that may be expired but it should still hopefully work against vapour, just for the sake of testing a mask. You know, so as said, you've got something to go with. Because, like I was saying, it does annoy me when you see these people lecturing other people about survival stuff with masks, and they don't have any in-date sealed filters. You know, it's that sort of stuff. Now, obviously, if you only wanted the mask for protection against dust and radioactive fallout and stuff like that, expired filters within reason are fine, because the particulate layer at the front of these things, the P3 layer, they don't really expire. They eventually become so clogged up you can't breathe through them, but they don't expire. It's not like the charcoal, where it eventually absorbs other chemicals or the metals mixed with the charcoal dry out or stop being effective. When it at least comes to these, you know, that's where an old filter can still be useful. Within reason. If they get too old, I still wouldn't trust it, just in case it's starting to crumble there. You know, loses its airtight seal. But as you can see, this mask is airtight and this old S10 filter works fine with the mask. So, as I said, I need to add chemical gloves into this bag. But in this bag I do obviously have a brand new sealed filter within date, and when that's out of date I can always swap it for a new filter. But, you know, most importantly, I have got a mask set up with filters. But as I said, the more spare filters the better. If you had an additional bag or a very big bag, you might want to store more sealed filters in there. The point I'm getting at though is that you obviously need to consider what's going to happen if you're exposed to something. You can't rely on a half-used filter to get you out of the area without fully giving in. You can't rely on filters that ran out of date 20 years ago that you've kept sealed and then hope they're going to work. And you do need at least one open training filter so you can get used to breathing with the mask on, doing pressure checks, getting comfortable with your mask on, giving you a bit of confidence that it's actually going to work, that sort of thing. So, as I said, I'd recommend that you have one training filter, like this one that's open, that you can rely on for doing training purposes. And if you get caught really short, you can at least get that on the mask, or keep it on the mask, you know, good to go. And then switch out the filter as soon as possible with one that you know is brand new and sealed. And then at least one, preferably more sealed in-date filters that you can actually rely on to get on the mask if something really does go down. So thanks for watching, and hopefully that's explained something why I'm not very happy with a lot of the sort of prepper type people that say just buy some mask and get a filter with it and that's all you need to do. And they actually need to know how to use the mask and have filters that are stock check and in date.